Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, February 20th, 2009. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London, 9:30 a.m. in Mexico City. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. On this day in history 6 years ago, in 2003, in West Warwick, Rhode Island, the Station nightclub caught on fire during a live performance by a band, killing 100 people. That settlement is actually still wending its way through the courts. Most of it has been settled. However, it's still an active piece of litigation. Today's birthdays: the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Gordon Brown, is 58 years old today. We have a bit of breaking news. The New York Times is reporting that New York Governor David Paterson's former Chief of Staff and Cabinet Secretary Charles O'Byrne, who resigned about 3 months ago as a result of failure to pay taxes in a timely fashion, is returning to his former position. Mr. O'Byrne is a friend of CATEX. CATEX, our wholly owned company, the company that owns CATEX-TV, is licensed as a reinsurance intermediary that acts in a neutral capacity by the New York Insurance Department. We follow events in Albany very closely. So as I say, the Times is reporting, and other papers have picked this up, that O'Byrne is returning to his former position in Albany as the governor's chief of staff. Now to our main news, some economic news. Energy prices are tumbling 20% in the United States. U.S. consumer prices were unchanged over the last 12 months. This is the lowest 12-month inflation rate since 1955. The Labor Department reported this morning. However, in January, the CPI increased 0.3%. Energy prices themselves jumped up 1.7%. The core CPI, which strips out food and energy prices to get a better handle on underlying inflation trends, rose 0.2% in January, compared with a 0.1% gain expected by economists. The stock market is tumbling again. It's down about 140 points. Yesterday closed at its lowest total, down about 7,300 and change in 6 years. Swiss Re again faced a bumpy ride today. Their share price plunged 10% today. This on top of a 5% fall yesterday, as analysts digested an afternoon conference call with Swiss Re's board of directors. They apparently took no comfort in what they heard. Analysts at Collins Stewart, for example, lowered their earnings forecast for Swiss Re on the back of the disclosure that risk asset exposure was, quote, slightly worse than their expectation. Collins Stewart also lowered price targets to a 50% discount to year-end book value. This means that they're assuming that Swiss Re will have to write down its troubled structured CDS portfolio and all securitized assets below AA. That amounts to about 5.8 billion Swiss francs. The conference call saw the new CEO, Stefan Lipp, and the chairman of the board of directors, Peter Forstmoser, and the CFO, George Quinn, give details on Swiss Re's full net year loss of 864 million francs, as well as the nearly $6 billion mark-to-market loss on discontinued products. I'm sure that Mr. Lipp is probably the man in Europe most looking forward to a two-day weekend, although I suspect he's going to be doing a lot of work. News from Lloyd's that Advent Capital is jumping into the group of companies calling for an overhaul of how reinsurers underwrite Gulf of Mexico energy risks. This is after Hurricane Ike ripped through their reinsurance protection sheet and led to a £24 million underwriting loss. Advent is owned majority-wise by Fairfax Financial. They've now withdrawn from writing offshore energy. This is after a £20 million loss alone from Ike. This led to a group after-tax loss of just slightly under £9 million for the year. Prudential is in the news. The Prudential Insurance Company of America has been selected to acquire a Japanese insurance company that went bankrupt last October. That would be the Yamato Life Insurance Company. It's been under court-appointed supervision since then. A bid from Pru to acquire the company has been accepted. This is according to the Kyoto News Service. Yamato was one of Japan's smaller life companies. They lost $2.7 billion from stock holdings and was in $111 million in the red when the government seized them in October. Some Japanese financial companies did book deep losses as a result of the global financial crisis, but Japan has largely managed to avoid the large-scale bankruptcies that occurred in the U.S. and Europe. We'll go now to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. The cat bond market has been very quiescent since the demise of Lehman Brothers back in September. However, it seems to be a little bit back in action today with a $200 million issue from the French reinsurer SCOR. SCOR closed the 3 series of its Atlas V cat bonds. These are the first cat bonds issued worldwide in 6 months. SCOR apparently closed the deal on the 19th of February. The multi-year agreement with Atlas V Capital Limited provides $200 million in protection for exposure to earthquakes and hurricanes in the U.S., including Puerto Rico. Deutsche Bank and BNP Paribas are joint bookrunners on Atlas V. Guy Carpenter was acting as the structuring advisor. Deutsche Bank will act as total return swap counterparty on the cat bond. And in some news in the U.S., Ken Lewis, the chairman and CEO of Bank of America, has been subpoenaed by New York AG Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo is looking into whether Bank of America withheld information from investors in relation to its purchase of Merrill Lynch. This is all according to the Wall Street Journal. Cuomo is investigating whether investors were misled about the depth of Merrill's losses. In late 2008, Bank of America agreed to buy Merrill in mid-September. This is while doubts were swirling about concerning Merrill's viability. Investigators took testimony from John Thain, the former Merrill CEO, yesterday. The Wall Street Journal said that Thain was quizzed as to why the September agreement with BOA contained a non-public attachment that detailed the maximum Merrill could pay in bonuses. The paper cites a person close to the matter who claims that regulators are looking at Lewis's congressional testimony earlier this month when he said he had no authority over the bonuses. Cuomo is looking into how Merrill could have set the bonuses and told staff about them before the end of the quarter. They're also probing whether trading losses were adequately disclosed to the shareholders and boards of Bank of America. We're getting one report only, we can't verify this, about a skyscraper 25 stories high in downtown Guangzhou, the capital of China's Guangdong province, which is supposedly on fire. The fire started at about 11 a.m. local time in a building called the Fuli Yingtai Plaza. Again, we just have one story from Xinjiang. It's not known whether